In 99% of real estate deals, the bank is the highest authority. If a house is sold, the bank gets paid first. It's the golden rule of capitalism. But there is a specific legal loophole in 2,500 U.S. counties known as the super priority tax lien. When you buy a house through this specific tax backdoor, the county government steps in and legally deletes the mortgage. The previous owner's debt? Gone. The bank's claim? Vaporized. You aren't just buying a house for $2,000, you are buying the only legal instrument in America that allows a regular person to fire a bank. The black screen lifts. We are now deep in the digital trenches. It's 2 a.m., the time when optimism goes to die on Zillow. If you are anything like me, this is your late-night vice. You aren't doom-scrolling Instagram, you're doom-scrolling the housing market. You're dragging the map cursor across the country, looking for a way out, looking for a life that doesn't require a 30-year mortgage that eats 60% of your take-home pay. But tonight, the map is bleeding red. I'm looking at the numbers. Los Angeles, median price $900,000. For a teardown, Austin, $600,000. Even the affordable pockets of the country, the places you used to move to when you gave up on the coasts, they're gone. Boise, Nashville, Raleigh, they're all saturated. The algorithm feeds you the same inventory it feeds everyone else. Gray laminate flooring, investor specials, flipped bungalows with a fresh coat of white paint over black mold, listing for $500,000. It feels designed to make you surrender. It feels like the door is shut. I adjust the filters. I do something you're not supposed to do. I take the price slider, that little blue bar that represents your dignity, and I drag it all the way to the left. I don't stop at $100,000. I don't stop at $50,000. I drag it down to $5,000. Usually when you do this, the map goes blank. The dots disappear. You get a message saying 0 results found, or maybe you find a parking space for sale in Chicago, or a literal patch of swamp in the Florida Panhandle that is underwater 6 months out of the year. But tonight, in a corner of the map I rarely look at, a single red dot remains. It's sitting there, isolated, unassuming. I hover the mouse over it. The preview card pops up, $2,000. I blink. I actually refresh the page because my first instinct is that the website is broken. Zillow glitches all the time. Maybe they forgot a 0. Maybe they forgot 2 zeros. $200,000 would make sense. $20,000 would be a trailer. But the page reloads and the number stares back at me. $2,000. My brain immediately starts cataloging the reasons why this is a trap. It has to be a scam. That's the only logical explanation. It's a phishing listing. Or it's not a house at all, it's a land lease where you buy the structure but pay $800 a month in rent for the dirt underneath it. Or maybe it's a timeshare. Or maybe the house burned down 3 years ago and they're using old photos. I click the listing, the full page loads, and this is where the confusion turns into something else. Something like anxiety, because I'm looking at a house. It's not a mansion, it's a modest 2-story white-sided structure, but it's a house. I start clicking through the photos, looking for the catch. I'm looking for the caved-in roof. I'm looking for the fire damage. I'm looking for the boarded-up windows that signal a meth lab explosion. But the roof lines are straight. I zoom in on photo number 3. The shingles look gray, maybe a little weathered, but they are intact. There's no blue tarp. Photo number 4, the windows. They aren't shattered. They aren't even boarded up. There are curtains visible through the glass. Curtains imply people. People imply level of care. Photo number 5, the yard. It's overgrown, sure, the grass is up to the shins. There's a frantic, wild energy to the shrubbery like it hasn't been trimmed in 2 seasons. But the siding isn't falling off. The brick chimney is standing straight. I pull up Google Street View. I need to see the context. Usually a $2,000 property, if it exists, is located next to an industrial waste site or in a neighborhood that has been completely abandoned. I drop the little yellow man onto the digital pavement. The image resolves. It's a neighborhood. A quiet, tree-lined street. There's a Ford F-150 parked in a driveway next door. The house across the street has a manicured lawn and a basketball hoop. It looks like anywhere. It looks like a place where the mail gets delivered and the garbage gets picked up. And sitting right there, in the middle of this normalcy, is my $2,000 mystery. I switch back to the listing. I scroll down to the description field. This is usually where the realtor buries the bad news in all caps. Foundation issues, demolition order, mold remediation required. But there is no realtor description. There is no welcome to your cozy starter home fluff. There is just a single line of raw administrative text. Tax deed sale. Quit claim deed only. Cash buyer. And underneath that, a case number. My heart rate actually spikes. I know what this is. I've read about these on forums, deep in the subreddits where real estate investors trade war stories. This isn't a homeowner selling a house. This isn't a bank selling a foreclosure. This is the nuclear option. This house is currently in a state of legal purgatory. The owners stopped paying their property taxes. They didn't pay for 1 year, then 2, then 3. The county sent letters, they sent warnings, they tacked on interest. And finally, the government lost patience. The county doesn't care about market value. They don't care that Zillow thinks this house is worth $140,000, which, according to the Zestimate right here on the page, it is. The county only cares about what they are owed. They are owed $2,000 in back taxes, so that is the price. I sit back in my chair. The silence in my office feels heavy. If this is real, it's the financial equivalent of finding a winning lottery ticket crumpled up on the sidewalk. But if it's real, why hasn't someone else bought it?
There are hedge funds with algorithms that sweep Zillow every millisecond. There are investors with millions in cash sitting in accounts, waiting for deals. Why is this sitting here? I look at the days on Zillow counter, 14 days, 2 weeks. In this market, a good house lasts 48 hours. A cheap house lasts 12. This has been sitting for 2 weeks. That means everyone else has looked at this and passed. The pros saw something I'm not seeing. They saw a title defect. They saw a squatter with a shotgun. They saw a sewage lien that isn't listed. They saw danger. Buying a house on a tax deed isn't like buying a house with a realtor. There is no inspection period. You can't go tour it first. You can't get the keys to check the plumbing. You buy it as is, where is. You hand over the cash and they hand you a piece of paper. If you open the door and find the interior has been gutted by copper thieves, that's your problem. If you open the door and find a family living there who claims they own it, that's your problem. If the foundation is cracked in half, your problem. It is the ultimate gamble. I look at the photos again. The house looks so decent. It looks noble almost, standing there in the overgrown grass, waiting. I check my bank account. I have $2,000. I have the money. I could buy a new laptop, or I could buy a literal building.
The rational part of my brain is screaming no. It's telling me that if it sounds too good to be true, it is. It's telling me that I am an amateur about to walk into a buzzsaw of municipal bureaucracy and hidden costs. It's telling me to close the tab and go to sleep. But I can't close the tab because of that hook, that one specific detail about the tax lien. If I buy this, I don't just own the house, I wipe the slate clean. If the previous guy had a $200,000 mortgage with Bank of America and I buy this tax deed, Bank of America gets nothing. The mortgage is extinguished. I would own this free and clear. No payments, no interest rates, just ownership. It's a glitch in the system. A glitch that favors the bold or the stupid. I need to find out which one I am. I grab my phone, I pull up the county assessor's database, I type in the address. It exists. Owner of record, unknown. Tax status, delinquent. It's real. The data matches. The house is there. The debt is real. The sale is live. I feel a strange sense of vertigo. I am staring at a button that says contact agent, but for this listing, it just routes to a county clerk's email address. I start typing. To whom it may concern, I'm writing regarding parcel ID number 094-22. I have the funds. How do I execute this transaction? My finger hovers over the send button. This is the moment, the jump. Most people talk about escaping the rat race. They talk about financial freedom. But they do it by following the rules. They save 10% for 40 years, they buy the index funds, they play the game the way the bank wants them to play it. This is cheating. This is skipping a level. Or it's the fastest way to lose $2,000 I've ever found. I look at the house one last time. The white siding, the straight roof, the curtains in the window. I press send. The door swings open, and the first thing that hits me is the silence. It's not the silence of an empty room. It's the silence of a vault. The air inside is heavy, pressurized. It smells of cedarwood, old paper, and that distinct metallic scent of dust that has been settling undisturbed for years. But there is no smell of mold. There is no smell of rot. There is no sharp ammonia sting of animal urine. I step across the threshold and close the door behind me. The lock clicks, and suddenly the noise of the street, the distant traffic, the lawnmower next door, is cut off. I am inside the $2,000 experiment. I stand perfectly still in the entryway, letting my eyes adjust to the gloom. The blinds are drawn tight, slicing the afternoon sun into thin, dusty ribbons on the wall. My hand instinctively goes to the light switch, but I stop. The power is obviously cut. I'm doing this with the flashlight on my phone and whatever daylight can bleed through the curtains. I sweep the light across the floor. This is usually the moment where the dream dies. In foreclosures, this is where you see the concrete slab because the previous owners ripped out the copper piping and took the flooring with them out of spite. Or you see the water stains that look like Rorschach tests spreading across the ceiling, signaling a $30,000 roof repair. But I look down and I see carpet. It's ugly, let's be honest. It's a deep emerald green shag that screams 1970s. It's matted down in the high traffic areas. But I kneel down and pull at the corner near the baseboard. It comes up easily. And underneath, oak. Solid, strip plank oak flooring. I shine the light closer. It's dusty, sure. It needs sanding. It needs a coat of polyurethane, but it is seamless. There are no water rings. There are no termite holes. Do you know what it costs to install solid hardwood floors today? You're looking at $10, maybe $12 a square foot. Just the wood in this living room is worth more than the entire purchase price of the house. I am literally standing on my return on investment. I stand up and walk into the living room. The floorboards creak, but it's a solid creak, a heavy creak. It doesn't feel spongy. Spongy means rot. Spongy means the joists are eaten away. This feels like standing on bedrock. And then I notice the furniture. They left it. Usually, tax deed houses are empty shells, but this is a time capsule. There is a floral armchair sitting in the corner facing a television set that must weigh 200 pounds. One of those old tube TVs with the wood paneling on the side. There's a coffee table with a stack of magazines. I walk over and pick one up. Reader's Digest. The date on the cover is May 2011. 12 years. This house hasn't just been sitting empty. It's been waiting. It feels like the owner went out for groceries in the spring of 2011 and never came back. I move to the kitchen. This is the danger zone. Kitchens and bathrooms are where houses go to die. One leaking pipe behind a cabinet can rot out an entire wall before anyone notices. I push open the swinging door. The linoleum is yellow and cracked, peeling up at the edges. Finally, a flaw. I actually feel relieved seeing the damage because it makes the house feel real. If it were perfect, I'd be convinced I was hallucinating. But then I look at the cabinets. They aren't particle board junk from IKEA. They are solid pine, built in place, probably by a carpenter in the 50s. You can't even buy cabinets like this anymore. You sand these down, paint them white, change the hardware, and you have a designer kitchen. And there, against the wall, is the stove. It's a vintage gas range, white enamel, 4 burners with the high back splash guard. I walk over and run my finger along the enamel. It's smooth, no chips. I open the oven door. The spring is tight. It's clean inside. I've seen these stoves in architectural salvage shops in the city. They sell for $3,000. Restored, they go for $5,000. I am doing the math in my head, and it's making me dizzy. The stove pays for the house. The floors pay for the house. The copper wiring in the walls, assuming it's still there, pays for the house. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting to find the hole in the roof where the raccoons get in.
I head upstairs. The banister is smooth mahogany, worn soft by decades of hands sliding down it. I reach the landing. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. I go into the master bedroom. It's empty, save for a metal bed frame. I look up. This is what I'm really here to check. The ceiling. I shine my light into the corners. I'm looking for the brown rings. I'm looking for the bubbling plaster that means the roof has failed. Nothing. The plaster is smooth. There's a hairline crack running above the window, but that's just settling. That's just age. The roof is tight. For a house that has supposedly been abandoned for a decade, this is impossible. How? How does a structure survive the winters, the storms, the humidity without dissolving? It survives because it was built when things were built to last. This house has good bones. It's a phrase realtors throw around to excuse garbage properties, but here it's the literal truth. The studs in these walls are probably true 2x4s, old-growth timber that is dense and hard as iron. You couldn't knock this house down if you tried.
I walk into the bathroom. The sink is pink. The tub is pink. The tiles are pink. It's a Barbie dream house nightmare. But I turn the tap on the sink. Nothing comes out. The water is off at the street, but the handle turns smoothly. The ceramic isn't cracked. It's ugly, but it's functional. I sit on the edge of the pink bathtub and just breathe. I bought this on my phone. I clicked the button, wired money that I made from a couple of freelance jobs, and now I'm sitting inside a building that could shelter a family for the next 50 years. If you tried to build this house today, start from scratch, pour the foundation, frame the walls, run the electrical, put on the roof, it would cost you conservatively $150,000. The materials alone would be 50 grand. The labor would be double that, and the system valued it at $2,000. Why? Because of a paperwork error, because someone stopped opening their mail, because the bank lost track of the asset, or the mortgage was paid off years ago and the heirs didn't know the house existed. I walk back downstairs to the living room. I pick up that Reader's Digest again. This is the part that hits you. You aren't just buying an asset, you are buying a tragedy. Somewhere there is a story about why this house went dark in 2011. Maybe the owner passed away in a nursing home and the kids lived out of state and just didn't care. Maybe there were no kids. Maybe this was someone's pride and joy, their entire net worth, and it just slipped away. The super priority tax deed wipes out the debt, but it doesn't wipe out the ghosts. It doesn't wipe out the feeling that you are walking through the wreckage of someone else's life. But then I look at the window. The afternoon light is hitting the dust motes dancing in the air. If I hadn't bought this, what would have happened? Another year of taxes would have piled up. Eventually, the county would have condemned it. They would have bulldozed it. They would have crushed the oak floors and the pine cabinets and the vintage stove into a pile of debris and hauled it to a landfill. This house would have become a vacant lot, an empty gap in the smile of the neighborhood. By buying it, by breaking in, by being the vulture that sweeps in, I'm actually saving it. I'm the only reason this house has a future. I stand in the center of the living room. I do a full 360-degree turn. It needs work. It needs a dumpster. It needs a plumber to pressure test the lines. It needs paint. It needs love. But it is a house. It is 4 walls and a roof, and it is mine. The realization settles in, deeper than the excitement. It's a feeling of immense, unfair advantage. I have just bypassed 30 years of mortgage payments. I have just skipped the line that everyone else is standing in. I have a house for the price of a laptop. But as I turn to leave, as I reach for the drill to lock the door back up, I remember the catch. Because there is always a catch. The house is solid. The price was real, but the war isn't over. Buying the deed is just the opening shot. Now I have to defend it. Because even though the law says the mortgage is gone, the bank might not agree. And in about 10 minutes, I'm going to explain exactly what happens when a billion-dollar financial institution realizes you just stole their collateral. The high of finding the oak floors wears off about 10 miles down the highway. When you are standing in the house, you feel like a genius. You feel like you just pulled off the heist of the century. You look at those solid walls and that vintage stove, and you think, I am rich. But then you get back to your desk, you open your laptop, and the reality of the American legal system comes crashing back down. Because here is the question that has probably been nagging you this entire time. If this is so easy, why doesn't everyone do it? Why isn't every real estate investor in the country buying these $2,000 houses? The answer is simple. It's not the house that's the problem. It's the paper. I have a tax deed. It looks official. It has the gold seal. But in the eyes of the real estate world, this is what they call a clouded title. If I tried to sell this house tomorrow to a regular family, I couldn't. If they went to a bank to get a mortgage to buy it from me, the bank would run a title search, see the tax foreclosure, and instantly say no. Why? Because technically the previous owner, the one who disappeared in 2011, still has a shadow of a claim. The law says that for a certain period of time, they could theoretically show up, claim they never received the notices, and try to take the house back. No title insurance company will touch this property. So right now, I own a house that I can't sell. I have an asset that is frozen. This is the catch. This is the wall that stops 99% of people from doing this. But just like the purchase itself, there is a solution. It just requires more work. It's called a quiet title action. It sounds like a library rule, but it's actually a lawsuit. To make this house truly mine, I have to hire a lawyer to sue everyone. We have to file a suit against the previous owners, the previous banks, the distant heirs, and anyone who might possibly have a claim. We go before a judge, we present the tax deed, we say, we bought this legally, speak now or forever hold your peace. The judge waits. Usually, nobody shows up. The bank certainly doesn't show up for a $2,000 asset they wrote off a decade ago. The previous owner is long gone. And then the judge bangs the gavel and issues a court order that quiets the title. It scrubs the history. It turns that clouded title into a marketable title. But that lawsuit isn't free. So let's do the real math. The clickbait title of this video is that I bought a house for $2,000. And that is true. That is what I paid the county.
But here is the real cost of the cheat code. Purchase price, $2,015. Immediate cleanout, dumpsters, hauling away the trash, $800. Securing the property, new locks, boarding up the back window, $200. The quiet title attorney fee, $2,500. Court filing fees, $400. Back taxes that accrued during the processing time, $600. I pull up the spreadsheet, I sum up the columns. Total cost, $6,515. I look at that number, $6,500. For that price, you could buy a used Honda Civic with 150,000 miles on it. You could buy a high-end gaming PC setup. You could pay for maybe 2 months of rent in a decent apartment in New York City. Or you can own a house, free and clear. No mortgage, no rent, no landlord. Even if I have to put another $10,000 into repairs, sanding those floors, painting the walls, fixing the plumbing, I am all in for less than $20,000. The house next door, the one with the nice lady on the porch, Zillow says it's worth $145,000. I have created over $100,000 in equity out of thin air just by being willing to navigate the bureaucracy that everyone else is too scared to touch. And that brings me to the philosophy of this whole experiment.
We grow up believing that housing is expensive because it has to be. We are told that a house is the biggest purchase of your life. We are conditioned to sign the 30-year papers, to pay the interest, to feed the banking system. But what I found on that Zillow map and what I found standing in that dusty living room proves that the system isn't just rigorous, it's inefficient. It loses things. It leaves value on the table because the big banks are too big to care about a $2,000 line item. There are thousands of these houses across America. They're sitting in the Rust Belt, in the rural South, in the forgotten corners of the Midwest. They are waiting. They aren't for everyone. This wasn't easy. It was scary. Driving into a strange town, drilling out a lock, wondering if I was about to be arrested, That is the sweat equity you have to pay. You have to have the cash, and you have to have the courage to step outside the safety of the traditional market. But as I lock the door, my door, and walk back to my car, I look back at the house one last time. It doesn't look like a mystery anymore. It doesn't look like a scam. It looks like freedom. I bought a house for the price of a MacBook. The system is broken, absolutely, but for once, just this once, it broke in our favor.